What's happening, guys? So more whining and complaining on the internet. That's what we're unpacking here. So aftermarket parts, customer purchased something. They're not happy with the purchase. They took to the forums. They started whining and complaining. I went and found it. I want to address them. This episode, we're talking about suspension and handling, wins and fails. The wins are always going to be the guys that spent money. Every single time. There are lift kit companies that just far surpass anybody else in the industry. This truck behind me's got a little bit of a hybrid lift kit. It's a mix between an Icon vehicle dynamic suspension lift and a one-up off-road lift. One-up off-road is now owned by S&B. So S&B suspension is where you're going to get one-up off-road, and they've really taken it to the next level as far as manufacturing and production. But this was before that. This is an 8-inch kit. They no longer do an 8-inch kit. So this truck was set up for sled pulling. So it rides a little stiff on the street, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do when it's got a sled hook to it. And that comes down to purpose and function. My personal truck, which isn't here right now, has a full one-up off-road 8-inch suspension lift on it, dual coilovers in the front. That thing rides like an absolute Cadillac. It's also a $20,000 suspension lift. So if you want to buy a good suspension lift, you're going to love it. You're absolutely going to love it, and you're going to pay for it. This guy says, I bought a cheap aftermarket lift kit with cheap aftermarket shocks and springs. Rides worse. No kidding. You bought cheap junk and it rides worse than the factory suspension. I never would have guessed that. That's insane. That's crazy. Huge waste of money. I'm going with Carly. Well, if you'd spent the $15,000 or $20,000 on the Carly suspension kit in the first place, you wouldn't be on the internet whining about cheap parts. So he explained his own problem. Aftermarket lift keys. Rides worse than stock. This is obviously a Duramax customer. He bought some torsion keys, probably some cheap Chinese cast ones that just crank the torsion bars up and put the factory suspension in a horrible bind. So now instead of your radius arms sitting like this, where they can move up and down, they're now stuck like this all the time. And so you're just jamming the front suspension into the road every time you hit a bump. If you're going to do torsion keys and expect a decent ride, you absolutely have to do a set of Cognito upper control arms. They're redesigned. They keep the factory radius arm geometry while allowing you to bring the front end of the truck up about 2.5 inches. So he was just uneducated, possibly. Maybe he was educated and decided to go the cheap route. That's almost always going to be a bad experience. Good stuff isn't cheap, and cheap stuff isn't good. Nitto Trail Grappler tires killed my miles per gallon and killed my overall daily driving. You're an idiot. You put mud tires on your truck and then you want to whine about how much noise it makes and how it rides. Put street tires back on your truck. Michelin makes tires every day. They come on stock trucks. They ride great. They're quiet. If you want the aggressive look of an aftermarket tire, a mud tire, an all-terrain tire, it's gonna ride different. And it's gonna make more noise, and it's gonna look cool. Nobody's gonna remember that time you got 14 miles a gallon in your diesel truck, but they're gonna remember when you went mud bogging and took it off road. Don't be like this guy. His name's Chad.